Hey everyone, back to another episode. Thank you so much for joining me here. We are back with 90 Day Fiance, Love in Paradise, and I decided to just watch all the episodes and just let you guys know and get caught up with you guys and let you know my thoughts on just the current episode. I thought that might be better. Judgment call. If you guys are interested in what I thought about the previous episodes, I guess you'll find out how I feel right now. So this is episode 8, and it starts with Valentine and April. And can I just say, April is a bit much for me. I love her cleaning. I like the cleaning, but I feel like she's just too much. Just in general, I feel like her personality, which is really great, and she's really successful, and she's really driven and all that stuff, but just a little too much for me anyway. I think during this episode, it got to be where not only was it too much, but it was also pretty reckless and dangerous. So she's doing all this cleaning, and she's at Valentine's his mother's house, and she's trying to help his mom and grandmother cook. And all of a sudden, she whips out the Lysol and starts spraying stuff down, and she allows the mom and the grandmother to take the Lysol and spray it on their hands, because there's a language barrier, of course, but she allows them to spray it on their hands, and she eventually, she said in the translator, hey, this is not to be sprayed on your hands, yada, 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 but this is an example of this is just too much. You have to be more aware in what you're doing and the effects of your anxiety and how your anxiety is affecting others. Because in this example, they're spraying a very harmful substance on their hands, and effectively it was going to be touching food and things like that, and that's not cool. You can poison somebody like that. And I didn't think that was good that her awareness wasn't where it should be. It's good that she was able to eventually, speak into the translator and let them know, hey, you need to wash your hands because you're not supposed to put that on your hands. But I think, here's the thing, I do get it. I get when you're feeling anxious and you're in fight or flight mode and your cognitive functioning is not there, right? So I do teach my clients that cognitive functioning is not there when fight or flight mode just takes over your body and takes over your brain. But I wonder if she could do a little bit better, moving forward, and if she will do better moving forward, because this was, a little bit dangerous. Somebody could have ended up, hurt, poisoned. So I hope that moving forward, she does a little better when it comes to her anxieties and the, the behaviors that she exhibits when she has that anxiety. So the next thing, there's a couple of things that are going on between her and Valentine. She meets his family for the first time, his mom and his sister, and in this episode, she even meets his brother, and a couple of things. So in previous episodes, she meets them, and she finds out that Valentine wants her to move to the Dominican Republic where he lives, and her reaction to that was not a good one, and Valentine in this episode says that he felt disrespected and all that, and And I get that. And so they need to talk about this moving forward. And she says it in this episode that they need to talk about it and get on the same page. And that's just so important. It's so important to get on the same page when it comes to being in a relationship, because a lot of things can get misconstrued, and you don't want to assume things, because you know what happens when you assume. So they need to get on the same page. And one thing that in this episode that was a little worrying for, to me, or just made me wonder about, was, Valentine wasn't there, for most of the time that she was at his mom's house and grandmother's house cooking or preparing this meal. Even after the rest of his family showed up, he still wasn't there. And I wonder if he was late showing up because of just how he felt with the conversation that was had the night before with her and the mom and the grandmother, and how he felt disrespected. So I just wonder how that's going to go moving forward. It seemed like Valentine was very turned off by April's reaction to that conversation. She did get a little amped up. This was in the previous episode. She did get a little amped up in that conversation, and so it didn't go well. And one other thing that we found out was Valentine's brother speaks a little bit of English, and his sister also speaks a little bit of English, but Valentine doesn't speak any English. And I'm going to talk about this a little bit later, but it's very clear that when the two partners don't speak the same language, bad things happen, and you're going to see that. And I always, bring up in session with my couples, and not even, just couples, but when I talk to clients and things like that, I talk about the importance of the love languages and not yada, yada, yada. But the example that I bring up is when you go to a different country and there's a different language that's spoken there, and how difficult it might be for you to get around and do the things that you need to do. And the best way to really, do the things that you really want to do and have an easier time there is if you know the language, right? And if you want to have an easier time there, or if you meet somebody there and you want to have a connection and you want to have a good time, it might be easier for them too to also learn your language, right? And that's just for obvious reasons. If you want to be able to get along, if you want to be able to get on the same page, you need to be able to communicate effectively. And the first way to do that is by speaking the same language. Even if that's a love language, the love language is, it's important to speak each other's love language, and so they're going to have some issues when it comes to that. With Valentine not, it seems like he's not really putting in the effort that he needs to in order to speak English. Whereas it sounds like April is doing, a pretty decent job of trying to learn the language. She's speaking a little bit of Spanish, and so it may not be perfect, but you can tell that she's trying. Whereas Valentine, you can see that he doesn't speak English at all, and it's, but his brother and his sister do. And so they're going to have some struggles moving forward without speaking each other's language, and I hope that Valentine will do a better job of learning to speak English and speaking April's language, so that way they can communicate better. They're also probably going to have some issues with this, because April brings it up in this episode, and she's doesn't seem like she's all that happy to find out that both Valentine's brother and sister speak some English, but he does not. She can see that there's some effort there for them to learn the language, but there's a lack of effort on his end to learn the language, even considering that he has a girlfriend that speaks English. So we'll see how it goes with them moving forward. Next up is Lydia and Scott. People. This couple, they drive me crazy the most because all I can say is fake, 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 fake. None of this seems real because none of this makes sense. So in the episodes leading up to this one, it was all Scott and Lydia gearing up to meet each other for the first time after talking for a year. And before they meet up with each other, it was all about sex. It was, oh, we're gonna have sex, and let's learn how to use the condoms. Let's talk about sex to our parents and our other loved ones and things like that. And that's all it was about. And then the minute they get together, what happens? There's no sex. Why is there no sex? Partially because there's no communication. And the worst part about it is there's just this drama that just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense from the get-go. And so in previous episodes, you see they meet and they get a hotel, and one weird thing is they're supposed to have all this sex, right? And Lydia gets them 2 hotel rooms. That's strange, considering that you're planning to have so much sex, right? And, some might say, well, this is their first time meeting each other and, yada, yada, yada. Okay, that's fine. But why have all this sex talk? Why talk so much about how much sex you're going to have? Why have a bachelorette party where you're getting lingerie and you're learning how to use a condom and all that, right? Why get 2 separate hotel rooms? That doesn't make any sense. And then they struggle with communication, big time struggle with communication, to the point where Scott gets so frustrated with the whole situation and not being able to communicate effectively that he asked the production crew to have a conversation with her. But that's where it gets even more weird, and I just don't understand. He starts to tell Lydia, this is frustrating, we can't communicate with each other, and I'm not feeling a connection because the fact that we can't communicate with each other. Makes sense, right? To me, that makes sense. And then all of a sudden, Lydia says, I don't understand why this is such a big thing to you. Is there something else? And he says, oh yes, I have been talking to my ex-girlfriend now for the past few weeks. What? Where did that come from? Where did that come from? First off, why would Lydia say, why would she seem confused that Scott is frustrated about the communication? Why would she shrug it off like, oh, that's not a big deal, there must be something else? Why would she think that there was something else if she didn't already know that there was something else? If this wasn't a plot, if this wasn't already being plotted by her and the production and Scott and the production, whatever. And then he says, oh yeah, I've been talking to this other, my ex for the last couple of weeks. Really? All of a sudden, you've been talking to your ex for the last couple of weeks and you didn't say anything? Seems fishy, seems suspicious. And then, so there's a big blow up, and then they break up, right? They break up, and then all of a sudden the next day, Lydia wants to have another conversation with him. Why? Why? You're broken up now, and you find out that that he's talking to somebody else, and you're brokenhearted. By the way, she's crying during this whole thing, and all I can think of is, man, she'd be a great actress in a soap opera. Man, put her in the soap opera. She'd be great. Do it. But all of a sudden now she wants to have a conversation with him. She asks for somebody from production to come and translate for them, and now she's angry and she's fiery, right? And brings her daughter. Her daughter comes now and starts to amp up the situation more and make the situation even worse. And all I could think of is, why? This has to be fake. This doesn't make any sense at all. I don't understand the way that this is happening, the way that this is all unfolding just doesn't make any sense. I was really upset when Lydia's daughter is standing there yelling at Scott, and Scott is just sitting there taking it, and then all of a sudden Scott gets upset and he raises his voice, and all of a sudden, you know, everybody is all, whoa, 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 whoa. Why wasn't anybody whoa, 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 and when Lydia's daughter is up there screaming at Scott, saying that he's a terrible person and all this other stuff? I just don't get that. Let's be fair, because Scott didn't do anything differently than what Lydia's daughter was already doing. And so that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And you can say, oh, well, he started being aggressive. The situation was very, very aggressive from the get-go with Lydia. Lydia's language during that was very aggressive, and then all of a sudden she gets her daughter to come in to tag team, and they start ganging up on Scott, and they're both being very aggressive. And then all of a sudden Scott is gonna get up and defend himself, and we're gonna say, whoa, 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 calm the situation down. Why wasn't the situation calmed down from the get-go? All that says, this is drama that's being created for TV. That's all it is. And as you all know, that's my favorite kind of stuff, right? So, yes. So that's Lydia and Scott. Who knows what's going to happen with them? I'm sure they're going to continue the plot along, and I'm sure they're going to try to continue to talk to each other and find their way back to each other. But we'll see what happens with the two of them. Next up is Jessica and Juan. They're still in the middle of their vacation with all of them, with the boys and Jessica's friend. And they're having a great time. Except for Juan when it comes to dealing with Jessica's son, her youngest son, eating. And he says a lot of times that he feels like the kids are running Jessica, and he's a little bit nervous about that. And nah, I get it. So he also said there's also an announcement that they're pregnant, so they tell the kids that they're pregnant, and the oldest son is having a hard time with that, as you know some kids do. And the funny part was Juan says, hey, he brings them aside and he says to the older kid, hey, I wasn't expecting this either. He says, I was just as surprised as you were, so we're in this together, man. That was really funny, and I get it. But this episode is also about Jessica's friend wanting to have a conversation with Juan. Apparently Juan, or allegedly Juan, cheated on Jessica on his last trip, on his last job on the cruise. And some woman reached out to Jessica and said that, you know, her and Juan, you know, got together and so on and so forth. And so Jessica's friend wants to have a conversation with Juan to tell him, don't mess with my friend, yada, yada, yada. And all I have to say is Jessica's friend should be staying out of it. this is between Jessica and Juan. I tell my clients that it's a good thing for you to have your friends. Your friends do not need to be friends with your partner's friends. You are allowed to have friends just like your partner is allowed to have friends. In fact, you should have friends just like your partner should have friends. And the purpose of your friends, or the job that is assigned to your friends, is to support you. Not really to support your partner. Their job is to support you. Their job is to say, hey, I got you, right? And yes, they should also be there to advocate for your partnership, but they're not there necessarily to advocate for your partner. They're there to advocate for you and you alone and your partnership. They should be fighting for you and want what's best for you and not necessarily what's best for your partner. And that's not a bad thing, right? And so Jessica has a friend who is looking out for her, which is a great thing. But Jessica needs to stay out of it, right? All she's doing is creating more drama, and she's creating more drama for Juan and Jessica potentially, because now what could happen is Juan could go around and talk to Jessica and say, your friend had this conversation with me and I thought it was really inappropriate. Your friend is not my friend, so she shouldn't be talking to me in any way, blah, 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 blah. And he's right. Jessica's friend should be telling Jessica, hey, I want what's best for you. You should be looking out for these red flags and so on and so forth. And Jessica should be listening to her friend to a certain degree, right? Because that's what her friend is there for. Her friend is there to support her and be there for her and let her know the stuff that she won't be able to notice with rose-colored glasses on, right? You know, sometimes we tend to only see what we want to see, and outsiders have the ability to see the things that we can't see or that we should see. And so that's what our friends' jobs are. Our friends are there to help us because they want what's best for us. But their job is not to interfere in a person's relationship, right? And so that's one of the things that I saw in this episode that I had a problem with, is that Jessica's friend shouldn't have had that conversation with Carlos. She's just creating potentially more harm than good. And if she wants to say something to Jessica, please say something to Jessica and have the conversation with her. But ultimately, that's all that should happen. And allow Jessica to, have Jessica listen to you or not. That's her choice, but stay out of it. It's not your relationship, and so that's the only thing that I could say about that. Last up is Carlos and Valentine. Of course, these two, more drama. Guess what? The marriage is off. Surprise, surprise. Not surprised, really. So, of course, they have another conflict over the friend Michelle, Valentine's friend Michelle, and this is the same conflict that they had before the show, even before this episode or before the season aired, right? They had issues and they broke up over it beforehand, and it's the same thing. They broke up again about the same exact issue. They're both struggling to see each other's side. They're both struggling to be supportive of one another. They're both struggling to wear the other shoe, and so I don't really know why they're struggling so much when it comes to just being there for one another or supporting one another. Well, it's because of their personalities. They both have strong personalities, and both of them are very, very stubborn, clearly. And And so they broke up again. And Valentine really feels like it was a good decision, or at least he says that when he's on the phone with his mom. He says that he thinks he made a good decision, and his mom says that he made a good decision. I don't know if it's a good decision or not, but what I do know is that when you are in a relationship and you really care about the other person, typically you know exactly what you need to do in order to fix whatever it is that needs to be fixed. Typically, you know exactly what your partner needs you to do in order to make amends with them. And where we struggle is doing that thing, right? And I'm going to encourage any of you out there who are struggling in your marriage or struggling in your relationship. There's something that your partner wants you to do, and you know what it is. If it's in your control, if it's in your power to do it, if it's really not going to hurt you that badly to do it, then do it. It's going to make your partner happy. It's going to strengthen your relationship. So why not do it? Why let your pride get in the way of something beautiful? So that's what's happening here between Carlos and Valentine. They have a beautiful relationship and they both seem to care a great deal about each other. It's very clear that they do, but they're both unwilling to do what they need to do in order to stay together. And like I said, that's what I would just encourage, anyone who's struggling in their relationship or their marriage. If there's something that you know that you need to do, if you know what your partner is wanting you to do, and it's really not going to hurt you that bad, you should just go ahead and do whatever it is that your partner is wanting you to do. It's not going to hurt you. It's going to be better for you in the long run. So that's what they're struggling with. I don't know if they're going to get back together. I have other questions too. Like I had mentioned before, I wonder if this is only an issue because Michelle is a woman. I still wonder if this had been Carlos's ex-boyfriend that he was hanging out with in the earlier part of the season, would this still be an issue? I don't know if it would. Who knows? But we'll see how things go moving forward. But it's clear that they both are being very, very stubborn. And it sounds like at least Valentine is hoping that Carlos will come back and apologize and give in to what Valentine wants. But we'll see what happens. Like I said, they're both being very stubborn, and they're gonna continue to struggle as long as they both continue to be stubborn the way that they are. You need to give in to each other, into a relationship, and recognize that it's not a terrible thing to give in to your partner, at least every once in a while. So, but we'll see what happens for them moving forward. Like I said, I was able to watch all the episodes, so I'm all caught up, and I will be posting videos, now that I'm all caught up. I'll be posting the videos for the episodes to come. I don't know how many episodes are left. I think this was episode 8. We'll see how many are left, but I hope that you guys like this episode. If you did, please give it a like, and please subscribe to the channel. Again, go look at the channel. There's some other videos there that are much more therapeutic than this one. And again, please like and subscribe, and I hope that you like this video, and see you in the next one.